I'm standing in my kitchen at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, staring at my laptop screen like it might suddenly tell me I'm dreaming. Balance $0, not $118.40. Not $1, $184.00. $0 and 0 cents. $118,400 gone. 37 years of nursing shifts. Double shifts on Thanksgiving. Christmas Eves in the ICU while my son opened presents without me. Every birthday I worked so he could have a better life. Every vacation I didn't take. Every dress I didn't buy. Every dinner I cooked at home instead of going out. Gone. My hands are shaking so badly I have to set down my coffee mug before I drop it. The website keeps refreshing, like maybe it's a glitch, maybe the bank's system is down, maybe Mercury is in retrograde and messing with technology, anything, God, anything but what I'm seeing. Transaction history, 47 withdrawals over the past 6 days. 6 days. I was at the family reunion 6 days ago.
My pulse is hammering in my ears now.
I grab my phone and call the bank's 24-hour line, and I'm that person, that frantic, borderline hysterical person shouting representative over and over into the automated system until a human voice finally picks up. Fifth Street Savings, this is Marcus. How can my account is empty. My voice doesn't sound like mine. It sounds hollow, scraped out. Someone took everything. I need to know who, Mom. I'm going to need to verify your identity first. I rattle off my social security number, my mother's maiden name, the name of my childhood pet, the street I grew up on, every piece of my life reduced to security questions, while my entire future sits at 0 in some computer system. There's typing.
Long, terrible typing.
Mrs. Baptiste Marcus says, and I can hear it in his voice, that shift. That tone that means he knows something I don't want to hear. I'm looking at your account now. The withdrawals were authorized. I didn't authorize anything. I didn't, Mom. They were made with a notarized power of attorney. Filed on the 18th of last month. More typing. A pause that lasts 3 lifetimes.
The document was signed by
Adalia Baptiste. The floor tilts. Dahlia.
my daughter-in-law.
The room goes silent, except for the hum of my refrigerator, and Marcus asking if I'm still there, and suddenly I'm back at the reunion. The VFW hall in Queens, paper streamers, Aunt Gloria's mac and cheese. My grandbaby's running between tables, and I'm seeing it differently now. I'm seeing Dahlia corner me by the punch bowl. She was wearing that cream-colored blazer, the one that probably cost more than my monthly utilities. Her smile was wide and white and sharp. Zuri, she'd said, touching my arm like we were friends. Like she hadn't spent 5 years calling me overbearing for wanting to see my own grandchildren. I've been meaning to talk to you.
About what, sweetheart? She leaned in close. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive and cold.
Close enough that no one else could hear. About your little nest egg, she whispered. You know, at your age, you really shouldn't be hoarding all that money. My mother always said old people who clutch their pennies die alone. She clinked her champagne glass against my plastic cup of fruit punch. Don't worry. You'll live without it. You lived poor before, didn't you? I'd laughed. Actually laughed. Because what else do you do when someone says something so outrageous you can't process it as real? I thought she was being dark, inappropriate, cruel in that casual way she sometimes was after a few drinks. I didn't know she meant it literally. I didn't know she'd already done it. Mrs. Baptiste Marcus is still on the line. Are you there, Mrs. Baptiste? I sink into my kitchen chair, the same chair I sat in when I got the call that my husband died. The same chair where I paid every bill, balanced every checkbook, planned every sacrifice.
The Formica table is cold under my palms.
How my voice cracks. How did she? I never signed anything. The notary seal is from a Jessica Chen in Manhattan. The document lists you as incapacitated due to... He stops. I'm sorry, ma'am. I can email you a copy of the filing if you'd like to dispute this with legal counsel. Incapacitated. She told them I was incapacitated. I'm 68 years old. I work 3 shifts a week at Mount Sinai. I took the subway by myself to that reunion. I made a sweet potato pie from scratch the morning of, but on paper in some lawyer's office in Manhattan, I'm incapacitated. And my son's wife took everything. Mrs. Baptiste, I really am sorry. If you believe this is fraud, you'll need to file a police report, and I hang up. I sit in my kitchen with all the lights off except the one over the stove, and I stare at that screen. Balance $0 somewhere in Brooklyn in the brownstone. I helped my son buy Dahlia, is probably asleep in 1,000 thread count sheets. Probably dreaming about whatever she's going to spend my life on. And somewhere inside me, in a place I didn't know, still existed the place that survived 12-hour shifts and raised a son alone, and buried a husband and kept going. Kept going. Something goes very, very quiet. Not broken. Quiet. There's a difference. I close my laptop. I make a phone call I haven't made in 15 years. And when my cousin Simone answers, Simone, who works in estate law, Simone, who never liked Dahlia, Simone, who once told me that girls got graveyard eyes, I say 4 words: I need your help. Because that's the night my life cracked open. And that's the night I learned exactly who in my own family wanted me ruined. But it's also the night I decided I wasn't going to die quiet. The call with Simone doesn't happen until morning. Right now at midnight, I'm still sitting in my kitchen, and the smell of coffee has gone cold in my cup. It's funny what pulls you back when your world stops making sense. For me, it's the scent of that coffee Caf Bustelo in the yellow can, and suddenly I'm not 68 anymore. I'm 23, standing in a different kitchen in a 5th-floor walk, up on Amsterdam Avenue, making the same coffee at 4:30 a.m. before my shift at the nursing home. Caleb's 3 years old, asleep in the other room, and I've got exactly $12 until Friday. $12 for 3 days. I remember doing the math on the back of a Con Edison bill. Formula, bread, eggs, subway fare. Something had to give, and it was always going to be the subway fare. So I walked. 4 miles each way through a New York winter, my scrubs under my coat, my nursing shoes in a plastic bag so they wouldn't get salt-stained. My feet bled sometimes. I never told anyone that part. I just kept walking. Because that's what you do when you're a mother and your son is sleeping safely in his bed and the heat's still on and there's food in the refrigerator. You walk. You work. You don't complain, because complaining doesn't pay bills and it doesn't raise a good man. And I raised a good man. I know I did. Caleb was the kind of boy who brought me dandelions from the park and called them flowers. Who sat with me on the stoop on summer nights when the apartment was too hot to breathe, reading library books under the streetlight. Who got a full scholarship to CUNY because I made sure he understood education was the only inheritance I could give him. I worked doubles, triples when I could get them. Holidays, weekends, overnight shifts that turned my sleep schedule inside out. I missed his basketball games and his graduation rehearsal and the night he got his college acceptance letter because I was changing bedpans and checking vitals and earning time and a half. Every extra dollar went into that account. The one that now says 0. I saved for 18 years before I had enough for his college expenses the scholarship didn't cover. Books. A laptop. A winter coat that didn't come from a thrift store. When he graduated, I had $47 in that account. I remember the number exactly because I'd never seen that many zeros attached to my name before. I thought I was rich. I thought I'd finally done it, made something, built something that couldn't be taken away. Then Caleb met Dahlia at some young professionals mixer in Manhattan, and 6 months later they were engaged, and she wore a ring that cost more than I made in 3 months. I didn't say anything. She made him happy. That's what mattered. When they got married, I paid for the rehearsal dinner because Dahlia's parents said they'd already spent enough on the ceremony. $4.200 for 70 people at a restaurant in Soho I'd never heard of, where the appetizers had names I couldn't pronounce. Caleb hugged me that night and whispered, "Ma, you didn't have to do this." But I did. Because he was my son, and you do everything for your son. When they bought the brownstone Dahlia's dream house in Brooklyn with the original moldings and the garden out back, they were $30 short for the down payment. I gave it to them. Didn't loan it. Gave it. Because family helps family, and I wanted my grandbabies to grow up somewhere beautiful, somewhere stable, somewhere better than that walk-up on Amsterdam where their daddy grew up eating cereal for dinner. I never asked to be paid back. I just kept saving, kept working, kept building that number back up dollar by dollar, shift by shift, year by year. $118, $400. That's what 45 years of nursing looks like when you never spend it on yourself. When you buy your clothes at Target and your furniture at yard sales. When you cut your own hair and make your coffee at home and take the bus instead of cabs and say no to every small luxury so you can say yes to your family. If you've ever given everything to someone who later turned away, you'll understand this part. You'll understand why I'm sitting here at midnight staring at a laptop screen feeling like the floor just disappeared beneath me. Not because of the money, though God knows that's real, but because I thought love was supposed to be circular. You give it, it comes back. You sacrifice, someone remembers. You build a foundation, and the people you love don't burn it down while you're sleeping. Thank you to everyone who helps keep these stories alive. Every word you share, every act of kindness helps protect those who still believe in family, who still think goodness means something. I close my laptop. Outside, a siren wails down Lenox Avenue. The city never sleeps, they say. Tonight, neither do I. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, beneath the shock and the grief, a small voice is whispering something I don't want to hear. When did Dahlia get access to my account? When did she forge my signature? And the question that makes my stomach turn, where was Caleb when she did it? I don't sleep. At 8:47 a.m., I'm standing outside 5th Street Savings on 125, waiting for them to unlock the doors. My hands won't stop shaking, so I shove them in my coat pockets. The morning is cold and gray, the kind of November day that makes New York feel like it's holding its breath. The security guard lets me in at 9 sharp. I need to see a manager, I tell the teller. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. About my account. About fraud. They put me in a small glass office with motivational posters about financial planning. The irony isn't lost on me. A woman named Patricia comes in with a manila folder, her face already apologetic. "Mrs. Baptiste? I pulled your account history." She opens the folder and I see the printouts, pages of them.
There were 3 major withdrawals.
November 18, the 20th and 22 and $40, $0, $38, $0, and $40, $400. I didn't make those. I understand, but they were authorized with signed documents. She slides 3 forms across the desk, and there it is. My signature. Except it isn't. It's close, whoever did it practiced, but the loop on my Z is wrong. The tail on my B is too long. It's like looking at a photograph of yourself in a funhouse mirror. Recognizable but fundamentally wrong. Who witnessed this? My throat is closing. Patricia points to the witness line. Caleb Baptiste. My son's name. His signature. His handwriting I'd know anywhere because I taught him how to write in cursive at our kitchen table when he was 7 years old. The room tilts. Mrs. Baptiste, do you need water? I can't answer because I'm back at the reunion watching it unfold differently now. Dahlia hugging me by the coat rack.
Her arms tight around me, her laugh high and bright, and her hand, her hand, slipping into my purse hanging on the hook behind me.
I'd thought she was just being affectionate. Dahlia was never affectionate. She was stealing my wallet. There's more, Patricia says quietly. I pulled the security footage from our branch on East 86th Street. That's where 2 of the withdrawals were made in person. She turns her computer monitor toward me. The footage is grainy but clear enough. November 20, the 2:47 p.m. A woman in oversized sunglasses and a camel coat approaches the counter. She slides something across to the teller, my driver's license, I realize. My stolen ID.
The teller checks it, nods, processes the withdrawal. The woman turns slightly toward the camera.
Dahlia. She's smiling. Not nervously, not guilty. Smiling like she's picking up dry cleaning. My hands curl into fists so tight my nails cut into my palms. I'm filing a police report, I say. This is theft. Forgery. Fraud. Patricia nods slowly. You can absolutely do that. But Mrs. Baptiste, if your son signed as a witness. This becomes more complicated legally. Family court, not criminal court. You'd need to prove I need my money back. I understand. But the bank can't reverse authorized transactions without a court order. I'm so sorry. I walk out of that bank into the cold, and I call Caleb. He answers on the 3rd ring. Hey, Ma. What's up? I'm actually in a meeting. I need you to come home. Now? Something in my voice must cut through because he goes quiet. Is everything okay? No, baby. Everything is not okay. An hour later, I'm standing in the living room of the brownstone I helped them buy. Dahlia's on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Caleb's by the window, arms crossed, already defensive. Your wife stole my life savings, I say. No preamble. No softness. Dahlia doesn't even look up. That's dramatic. $118,000. You forged my signature. You used my ID. You, Mom. Caleb's voice is flat. Rehearsed. His eyes won't meet mine. Dahlia and I needed that money more than you. We have expenses. The house, the kids' private school, our lifestyle. You don't. You don't live an expensive life. You'll be fine. I stare at my son. My boy. The one I walked 4 miles in the snow for. The one I gave everything to. You knew, I whisper. You signed those papers. We're family, Dahlia says, finally looking up. Her voice is bright, casual, like we're discussing the weather. Money comes and goes. Zuri, you should be thanking us for using it wisely instead of letting it sit in some account collecting dust. Stop being so dramatic. The words land like a slap. Thanking them for stealing from me. If you've ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal made you question your own worth, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Thank you to everyone who helps me tell these stories. Your support keeps this space alive for those who still believe that truth somehow will always find its way. I don't cry. I don't yell. I just stand there in that beautiful brownstone with the original moldings and the garden out back, and I feel something inside me go very, very still. I see, I say quietly. And I walk out. Behind me, I hear Dahlia laugh. That laugh follows me all the way home. The apartment is so quiet I can hear the radiator ticking. I sit at my kitchen table for 3 days straight. Not because I'm waiting for something, just because I don't know where else to go. The chair is cold. The coffee goes untouched. I stare at the same water stain on the ceiling I've been staring at for 20 years, counting the brown rings like they might add up to an answer. They don't. On the 4th day, I call my sister Lorraine. Zuri, honey, slow down, she says after I explain everything in one breathless rush. You're saying Dahlia took your money, all of it, yes. She forged, but how would she even do that? Don't you have to be there in person? She stole my ID. At the reunion, I saw the footage. There's a pause. A long one. the kind that means she's choosing her words carefully. Zuri, I don't know how to say this gently, but are you sure you didn't just misplace something you know sometimes when we get older? I'm 68, not senile. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe you moved the money and forgot, or maybe Caleb borrowed some and you're remembering it wrong. I hang up. I call my other sister, Denise. She listens longer, makes sympathetic noises, then says, "Have you talked to your doctor? Sometimes stress can affect memory." My friend Margaret thought someone stole her jewelry, but it turned out she'd put it in a shoebox in her closet. I don't bother calling anyone else. At the grocery store on 125, I run into Mrs. Chen from my building. She looks at me with those soft, pitying eyes. "Zuri, I heard you've been having some trouble," she says quietly, touching my arm. My daughter knows a very good neurologist. Sometimes these things start small, forgetting where you put things, confusion about money. I'm not confused. Of course not, dear. But it never hurts to check. She pats my hand like I'm a child. I stand in the canned goods aisle for 20 minutes. After she leaves, staring at rows of soup. I can't afford any more trying to remember when I became the kind of person people whisper about. Caleb blocked my number on day 5. I know because when I call it goes straight to a message that says the person you are trying to reach is not available. Not available. My son is not available to his mother. I try texting. The messages turn green. Not delivered. I think about going back to the brownstone, banging on the door, demanding to be heard. But I already know what would happen. Dahlia would call the police. Tell them I'm harassing them. Unstable. There'd be another paper trail, another document, another piece of evidence that Zuri Baptiste has lost her grip on reality. So I don't go. I just sit. On day 7, I make the mistake of checking Instagram. I don't even know why I still have the app. But there she is. Dahlia. Posted 6 hours ago. The photo shows her in a white silk robe, cucumber, slices on her eyes, champagne in a crystal flute. The location tag says, Serenity Falls Spa and Wellness Retreat, Upstate NY. The caption, blessed with abundance, finally taking time for self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup, self-love, grateful, living my best life. The post has 247 likes. My hands are shaking so badly I drop the phone. It clatters on the linoleum screen down, and I don't pick it up. I just sit there in my dim kitchen with the overhead light burned out. Has it been out for days, weeks, and I feel something crack open inside my chest. Not anger. Anger would be useful. This is emptier than that. If you've ever sat in a room so quiet it started to echo your thoughts, you'll understand this silence. The kind that wraps around your ribs and squeezes until you're not sure you're breathing anymore. Thank you to those who help keep these stories alive. Your kindness helps give voice to people who've been forgotten, who sit alone in their pain, waiting to be seen again. I find my checkbook in the drawer, the one I've been writing checks from for 40 years. I open it. Balance $0. I run my fingers over the carbon copies of old checks. $15 to Con Edison, $42 to the corner bodega, $200 to Caleb for his textbooks fall semester, $1,999. The pages smell like old paper and ink and a life I don't have anymore. I close the checkbook. I sit in the dark. The city hums outside my window, sirens, car horns, someone's music bleeding through thin walls. New York never stops moving, never stops breathing. But in here, in this small kitchen, in this small apartment, time has frozen solid. Maybe I really was alone in this world. Maybe I always had been, and I just hadn't noticed. But then so faint, I almost miss it. My phone buzzes on the floor. I stare at it for a long time before I pick it up. A text from Simone, call me back. I found something. Simone's office smells like old law books and burnt coffee.
She spreads documents across her desk like she's dealing cards, bank statements, notarized forms, withdrawal receipts.
Each one a piece of my life reduced to paper. They didn't just steal from you, Zuri, she says, tapping a yellow highlighter against a page. They tried to erase you. She slides a document toward me. It's dated October 3 6 weeks before the reunion. Petition for emergency conservatorship due to cognitive decline and financial incapacity, I read aloud.
My voice doesn't sound like mine.
Dahlia filed this with a lawyer in Manhattan. Gregory Moss. Real piece of work, specializes in elder exploitation cases, but not the way you'd hope. Simone flips to another page.
She claimed you were showing signs of dementia.
Forgetting appointments. Leaving the stove on. Getting lost in your own neighborhood. I know. But she had a notarized statement from a social worker who allegedly assessed you.
Simone pulls out another sheet.
Except that social worker doesn't exist. The license number is fake. My hands go cold.
She forged everything, Zuri.
The medical assessments. The witness statements. She even had someone impersonate a bank officer to verify your declining mental state. Look at this, she points to a signature. This is supposedly you authorizing Dahlia as your financial power of attorney. The signature is almost perfect. Almost.
She practiced, I whisper.
For months, probably. And your son Simone's jaw tightens. Caleb co-signed the conservatorship petition, testified that you'd become increasingly confused and unable to manage your affairs. The room tilts. The only reason it didn't go through the judge had a backlog. By the time it was scheduled for review, Dahlia had already emptied your account the old-fashioned way, theft and forgery. She got impatient. I stare at the papers. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't opportunism. This was a plan. My daughter-in-law spent months building a legal case to declare me incompetent so she could take everything I had. And my son helped her do it. There's more, Simone says quietly.
She turns her laptop toward me.
I pulled Dahlia's financial records, public ones. 2 months ago, she and Caleb applied for a business loan. $200 zero for some boutique yoga studio concept in Williamsburg. They were denied. Insufficient collateral.
She pulls up another document.
3 weeks after your money disappeared, they reapplied. This time with $118,400 in liquid assets to show good faith. The loan was approved. My life savings. Turned into downward dogs and green juice. If you've ever found truth in the quiet moments after pain, you know what this part feels like, not relief. Not yet, but recognition. The fog lifting. The picture sharpening. Thank you to everyone who supports these stories. Your kindness keeps hope alive for people still finding their voice after betrayal. What do? I ask. Simone leans back in her chair. Her eyes are sharp, calculating. We take them to court. Criminal fraud. Elder abuse. Forgery. Identity theft. And Zuri, she smiles, thin, cold, righteous. We make sure everyone knows exactly what they did. I look down at the papers again. All those lies printed in black and white. And for the first time in 2 weeks, I feel something other than despair. I feel clarity. Let's do it, I say. My voice is steady now.
There comes a point when silence stops meaning defeat.
It becomes preparation. I sit in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning, sunlight cutting through the blinds in sharp lines across the table. My coffee's gone cold. I don't drink it. I just watch the steam stop rising, watch the surface go still and dark as a mirror. For 45 years, I gave everything I had to people who thought generosity meant weakness. Today, I'm learning the quiet math of self-respect.
Simone connects me with Marcus Webb, an elder law advocate who works out of a cramped office on 125th Street.
His walls are covered with certificates and framed thank you letters from clients. He's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and calloused hands that suggest he's built something from nothing before. Mrs. Baptiste, he says, reviewing the documents Simone sent over. What they did to you is textbook elder financial abuse, criminal fraud, identity theft. We can file charges. We can freeze their assets. We can make this public. What do I need to do? Collect everything. Bank records, forged signatures, recordings if possible. The more evidence, the stronger the case. He leans forward. But I need to ask, are you prepared for what this means? You'll be taking your son to court. I don't hesitate. He took me to zero. Marcus nods slowly. Then let's get your life back. The next morning, I open a new account at a different bank. I reroute my Social Security deposits. I change the locks on my apartment door, something I should have done years ago when Dahlia made herself a copy of my keys for emergencies. Each action is small, unremarkable, but each one is a knife cutting through chains I didn't know I was wearing. I stop by the main branch of Fifth Street Savings and request copies of every transaction on my account for the past year. The manager, Patricia, the same woman who showed me the forged signatures, prints them without question. 214 pages. I take them home and spread them across my kitchen table like a map of betrayal. November 18, the $40, zero withdrawal. Authorized by forged signature. November 20, $38, zero withdrawal. Dahlia on camera, smiling. November 22 and $40, 400 withdrawal. My life divided into 3 business days. I photograph every page. I save them to a thumb drive. I make copies and store them at Simone's office. For years I mistook generosity for love. Now I'm building a fortress out of facts. On Thursday I do something I never thought I'd do. I call Caleb. He answers on the 4th ring, wary. "Mom, baby," I say, and I let my voice crack just a little. Not too much. Just enough. "I've been thinking about what you said, about how I don't need much. Silence. And you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I was holding on too tight." I pause. Let him hear my breathing. I want to apologize for making things difficult. "Can we talk, just the 3 of us, dinner at my place?" I can hear him conferring with someone, Dahlia, obviously. Muffled voices. When he asks, finally, "Saturday, 6 o'clock. Okay. Yeah. We can do that. Thank you, baby. I love you." I hang up before he can answer. Marcus gives me a small recording device, legal in New York, as long as one party consents, and I'm one party. It's smaller than a lipstick tube. I tape it inside my cardigan pocket, test it 3 times to make sure it works. Saturday comes. I make pot roast. Caleb's favorite. The apartment smells like home, like forgiveness, like everything they want to believe about me. They arrive at 6:15. Dahlia's wearing Louboutins I probably paid for. "Mom, the place looks great," Caleb says, but he won't meet my eyes. We sit. We eat. I play the part perfectly, the aging mother, a little confused, a little lonely, grateful they came. "I've been thinking about what you said," I tell them over dessert, about not needing money at my age. Dahlia lights up. "Exactly, see, Caleb, I told you she'd come around." "It was smart of you," I continue, my voice soft, almost frail, "to use it for the business. I wouldn't have known what to do with it anyway." "Honestly, Zuri," Dahlia says, leaning back with her wine glass, "old people shouldn't have savings accounts that big. It's irresponsible. You could have been scammed. We basically saved you from yourself." I smile. Nah. Pour more wine. Caleb shifts uncomfortably. "Mom, you understand, right? We needed it more than me," I finish. "You said that." "I remember." "Exactly. Dahlia says. Finally, some clarity. It's funny how silence can sound like thunder when guilt starts to echo. They leave at 9. Dahlia hugs me at the door, quick performative. Thanks for being reasonable, she whispers. I watch them walk down the hallway toward the elevator. Watch them disappear behind closing doors. Then I go inside, remove the recording device, and plug it into my laptop. Dahlia's voice crystal clear. Old people shouldn't have savings accounts that big. We basically saved you from yourself. I make 3 copies. I email one to Marcus Webb with the subject line Evidence Part 2. For the first time in weeks, I sleep through the night. And when my phone rings at 7 a.m., Caleb texting calling again, I sit at my kitchen table with my coffee and watch it buzz across the surface like a trapped insect. I don't answer. My silence has already spoken. I send the invitations on Monday. Family dinner this Saturday. 6 p.m. I have an announcement. Please come. Mom, I don't ask. I don't beg. I just state it like fact, like gravity. By Wednesday, everyone's confirmed. Caleb and Dahlia. My sisters, Lorraine and Denise. Aunt Gloria. Even my cousin James, who I haven't seen in 2 years. 12 people total. I don't tell them I've also invited 2 representatives from Fifth Street Savings Bank and a detective from the NYPD Financial Crimes Unit. Saturday comes cold and bright. I spend the morning cooking mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread pot roast. The apartment smells like every Sunday of my childhood, like forgiveness and grace and things I no longer feel but can still perform. They arrive in waves.
Lorraine first with her concerned eyes and tight smile.
Then Denise, then Gloria. Caleb and Dahlia show up at 6:15, fashionably late, her heels clicking on my floor like a countdown. Mom, Caleb says, kissing my cheek. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. What's this about sit, I say. Eat first. Dahlia's wearing cream again, her power color. She surveys my small apartment like she's visiting a museum of poverty. She doesn't know that Marcus Webb and Detective Sarah Chen are waiting in my bedroom with a folder 3 inches thick. We eat. Small talk. Lorraine asks about my health. Gloria compliments the greens.
Dahlia scrolls her phone under the table.
At 7:00, I stand. Thank you all for coming, I say. My voice is steady. Calm. I asked you here because I wanted you to hear something. All of you. Together. I walk to my bedroom door and open it. Marcus steps out first in his navy suit. Then Detective Chen, her badge clipped to her belt. Then Patricia from the bank carrying a laptop. The room goes silent. What the hell is this? Dahlia's voice is sharp, but I catch the tremor underneath. This, I say, sitting back down, is the truth.
Detective Chen sets up the laptop at the head of the table.
She doesn't smile. Mrs. Baptiste contacted our office 2 weeks ago regarding financial elder abuse, she says. We've been investigating.
What we found constitutes multiple felonies.
She hits play. The bank security footage fills the screen. November 20th.
2:47 p.m.
Dahlia in oversized sunglasses sliding my stolen driver's license across the counter. The teller processing a $38 zero withdrawal. Lorraine gasps. That's Caleb starts. Your wife, I finish. Using my identification. Stealing my money. It wasn't stealing, Dahlia snaps. We had authorization, you had forgeries.
Marcus opens the folder, pulls out the withdrawal forms.
These signatures were analyzed by a forensic document examiner. None of them match Mrs. Baptiste's actual signature, but they do match practice signatures found in your home office during the warrant search on Thursday. Dahlia's face goes white. Warrant Caleb's voice cracks. Detective Chen continues. We also recovered emails between Mrs. Dahlia Baptiste and attorney Gregory Moss regarding fraudulent conservatorship petitions, false medical evaluations, and conspiracy to declare Mrs. Zuri Baptiste financially incompetent. She pulls out more papers. The petition. The fake social worker statement. The timeline. This wasn't impulsive, I say quietly. This was planned. For months. Aunt Gloria is crying. Denise has her hand over her mouth. Then Patricia plays the recording. My kitchen. Last Saturday. Dahlia's voice crystal clear. Arrogant old people shouldn't have savings accounts that big. It's irresponsible. We basically saved you from yourself. The room is a vacuum. That's out of context, Dahlia hisses, standing. You can't. This is entrapment. New York is a one-party consent state, Marcus says calmly. The recording is admissible. Detective Chen stands. Mrs. Dahlia Baptiste, you're under arrest for identity theft, elder financial abuse, fraud, and forgery. Two uniformed officers step in from the hallway. I didn't even hear them arrive. Dahlia's screaming now. This is insane. Caleb, do something, tell them, but Caleb isn't looking at her. He's looking at me. His face is ash gray. His hands are shaking. Mom, he whispers. I thought it was just a loan, I ask. My voice is soft. Too soft. A borrowing, a temporary thing. He opens his mouth. Closes it. You signed those papers, Caleb. You witnessed the forgeries. You told the bank I was losing my mind. I walk toward him. You knew enough. You just didn't care. I care, he chokes out. I'm your son. You were my son. The words land like a slap.
The officers cuff Dahlia. She's still screaming, thrashing, threatening lawsuits, threatening me.
I don't look at her. I look at Caleb, who's sobbing now, reaching for me. Please, Mom. Please. I made a mistake. I'll fix it. You can't fix this, I say. Detective Chen hands me a business card. We'll be in touch about restitution in the criminal trial. You did the right thing, Mrs. Baptiste. They take Dahlia out. The apartment empties slowly. Lorraine hugs me, crying apologies. Denise squeezes my hand. Gloria whispers, I'm proud of you. Caleb is the last to leave. He stands at my door, face red and swollen, looking like the little boy who used to bring me dandelions. I love you, he says. I close the door. I lock it. I stand in my quiet apartment, and for the first time in 45 years, I'm not waiting for anyone to come home. I'm already here. After the verdict, silence became my favorite sound. It was the sound of justice finally breathing. The trial takes 6 weeks. I attend every day, sitting in the third row on the left side of the courtroom, wearing the same navy dress and the same pearl earrings my mother left me. I don't speak unless spoken to. I don't cry. I just watch. Dahlia's lawyer tries everything, claims of misunderstanding, allegations of entrapment, suggestions that I'm vindictive and confused. But the evidence doesn't lie. The forged signatures, the bank footage, the recording, the emails discussing my cognitive decline with an attorney who specialized in exploiting legal loopholes. The jury deliberates for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Identity theft, elder financial abuse, wire fraud, forgery. When the judge reads the sentence, 3 years in state prison, full restitution, permanent restraining order, Dahlia collapses in her chair. Her parents, sitting 2 rows behind her, stand up and walk out before the bailiff even finishes speaking. They release a statement the next day. We are heartbroken by our daughter's actions and extend our deepest apologies to Mrs. Baptiste. We had no knowledge of this situation. In other words, we don't know her anymore. Caleb doesn't go to prison. The DA offers him immunity in exchange for testimony. But immunity from jail doesn't mean immunity from consequence. His firm, a mid-sized marketing agency in Tribeca, lets him go 3 days after the verdict. Restructuring, they call it. But I see the real story in the New York Post. Local man implicated in mother's elder abuse case loses position at Manhattan firm. The yoga studio they tried to open with my money, it never happens. The bank seizes the loan collateral. The lease in Williamsburg falls through. Someone spray paints ELDERABUSER on the front window of the brownstone I helped them buy. They list it for sale 2 weeks later. I don't celebrate. I just read the listing price and feel nothing. The bank restores my full savings, $118, 400 plus interest plus damages. Marcus helps me put it into a trust that no one can touch, not even me, without a third-party fiduciary review. I'm not taking chances again. Mrs. Chen from my building brings me soup and apologizes for suggesting I needed a neurologist. Lorraine cries on my couch for an hour, saying she should have believed me. The manager at the grocery store on 125th, a woman I've known for 15 years, touches my hand at checkout and says, "We always knew you were sharp, Missouri." I smile, nod, accept their apologies like rain that's already passed. Because I didn't need them to believe me then. I needed me to believe me. And I did. One evening in late February, there's a knock on my door. I know who it is before I open it. Caleb stands in the hallway with 2 suitcases and a face I barely recognize, hollow, older, beaten by shame. "Mom," he says quietly, "can we talk about what I lost, the apartment? The lease was in both our names, and with Dahlia in prison and me unemployed." He trails off. I was wondering if I could stay here. Just for a little while. Until I get back on my feet. I look at my son, the boy I raised alone. The boy I walked 4 miles in the snow for. The boy I gave everything to. The man who signed papers that said I'd lost my mind. "No," I say. His face crumples. "Mom, please. I made a mistake. I know that. But I'm your son. I'm all you have. You're not all I have, Caleb." My voice is calm, steady. I have my dignity. I have my savings. I have my name. You tried to take all of that from me. I didn't know it would go this far. You knew enough. He's crying now, standing in my hallway like a stranger. "I love you," he whispers. "I loved you too," I say. Past tense. I close the door. Lock it. Walk back to my kitchen where my coffee is still warm and the evening light is filtering through the window in soft gold. I didn't need to ruin them. Their lies had already done that. 3 months later, I hear through Lorraine that Caleb's working at a call center in New Jersey. Dahlia's appealing her sentence from a facility upstate. Their marriage is over divorce papers, filed assets, divided, nothing left but bitterness and blame. They used to whisper that I'd lost my mind.
Now they avoid their own reflections.
I don't think about them much anymore. Some debts don't need to be collected. Life has its own way of balancing the books. I'm 70 now. I work 2 shifts a week at Mount Sinai because I want to, not because I have to. I take a painting class at the community center on Wednesdays. I'm learning to say no without guilt, and yes without fear. Last week, a new nurse asked me if I had family. I thought about it for a long moment. I have myself, I said. That's enough. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. Justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's just the sound of a door you no longer open, and the quiet peace of a life you finally own. After the noise fades, what's left isn't victory, it's understanding. I signed the lease on a 1-bedroom in Prospect Heights on the first day of April. It's a senior living community with wide hallways and grab bars in the bathrooms, and a communal garden where residents grow tomatoes and basil in terracotta pots. My apartment is on the fourth-floor corner unit with windows that face east toward the park. The morning light comes in soft and gold, and for the first time in months, I wake up without my chest feeling tight. I don't bring much from the old place. A few photographs. My mother's china. The quilt I made when Caleb was born. Everything else, the furniture, the memories, the weight of 40 years I leave behind. Sometimes freedom looks like an empty room and a fresh start. The building has a community room where residents gather for cards, book clubs, movie nights. On Thursdays, I teach a crochet class. 6 women, all over 65, all with stories etched into the lines of their hands. We don't talk about our pasts much. We just sit in a circle yarn, moving through our fingers, creating something new from a single thread.
One afternoon, a woman named Diane asks me, "Do you have children, Zuri?" I pause mid-stitch.
I did, I say quietly. But some families grow apart. She nods like she understands. Doesn't push. Just passes me the basket of yarn and changes the subject. I'm grateful for that. Justice isn't about watching them fall. It's about standing again without hate. I used to lie awake at night imagining what I'd say if Caleb ever showed up at my door again. I'd rehearse speeches, cutting remarks, the perfect line that would make him understand the depth of what he'd done. But when he actually called 3 months after I moved, number unknown, voice small and desperate, I didn't say any of those things. I just listened. He told me Dahlia blamed him for everything. That the divorce was ugly. That he was working 2 jobs and living in a studio in Newark and couldn't afford to see his kids more than twice a month. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said. But I need you to know I'm sorry. I was weak. I let her convince me you wouldn't miss it, that you'd be fine, that we needed it more. I was wrong. I sat with the phone pressed to my ear, looking out at the park where children were playing on the swings. Caleb, I said, finally I forgive you. I heard him cry. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, I continued. I forgive you so I can move forward. Not so you can move back. Mom, I hope you find peace, I said. I really do. But I can't be the one who gives it to you. I hung up. And I felt lighter. I used to believe love meant giving everything. Now I know love also means knowing when to stop. On Sundays, I volunteer at a legal aid clinic in Bedford-Stuyvesant. We help seniors navigate financial abuse cases, review contracts, file protective orders. I tell my story when it's helpful. I listen when it's not.
Last week, a woman named Ruth came in. 73, shaking hands, eyes red from crying.
Her grandson had taken out credit cards in her name. Racked up $40 zero in debt. She didn't want to press charges because he's family. I took her hand. Family doesn't mean you owe them your life, I said.